Welcome to the night section. With Post Malone, man, I'm not gonna lie, I like his music, but it's been a discussion for years now that in a lot of ways he appropriated hip hop culture. Some have even called him a culture vulture, but is that necessarily a bad thing? In my opinion, I don't think so. But before we even get into it, let me explain to you guys what cultural appropriation is and what we might define as a culture vulture. In case some of you haven't heard of the terminology, essentially cultural appropriation, according to dictionary.com, is the adoption or co opting, usually without acknowledgement of cultural identity markers associated with or originating in minority communities by people or communities with relatively privileged status. In other words, not being of a culture and basically adopting anything that is particular to that culture, and usually the person that is adopting that very thing is of someone who comes from a place of quote unquote privilege. So in this case, it would be a white person, Post Malone, who is adopting hip hop, which is predominantly associated with black culture. Or rather, I should say, it is black culture. Post Malone, as a white person, has for the most part privilege in society, while black people don't. Just look at police brutality as an example. And before you guys get your panties in a bunch, the difference between Eminem and just a regular white person adopting hip hop is that throughout his existence as a rapper, he's always acknowledged his privilege and essentially paid his dues to the founding people of hip hop, aka the black community. He wasn't using rap as a gimmick or just to get on. Most people tend to consider something as cultural appropriation when you're using it to elevate yourself, whether that be financially, aesthetically, and socially without paying your respects. And culture vulture is basically the same thing, but I would add that now the said person is claiming this to be their own. To make it worse, it seems that Post used hip hop to get popping just to go back to the conventional quote unquote white music, which leaves him in question. I understand where a lot of people's concerns come from because a lot earlier in his career, he was going very hard to signal that he was hip hop leaning. He even had braids in his head as well as the grills he would rock. On top of that, he got on and blew up with a song called White Iverson. He didn't get on wearing cowboy boots or cowboy hats, nor getting on or blowing up with a song about a tractor or with indie rock and roll genre. Someone like Charlemagne was very vocal about his concerns.
Like
Let's
sit next to
go.
each other in the game.
No.
You
If
don't
you
like
could
me?
go-
if you could-
No, I don't
Yeah.
dislike you, but I
Hang
don't
with
like the
Tommy,
smell
you
of
can
beer
hang
and
with
cigarettes. And Post Malone smells like every beer and every cigarette that's in whatever convenience store in New York City right now.
But I don't listen to Post Malone. I don't feel him. Never have, probably never will. He's just not my cup of mayonnaise. But I do enjoy the Rockstar record.
Wait, you don't like Post Malone?
Trash.
You don't like Post Malone? I think he's trash. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about that. Why? I think he's trash.
Okay, so maybe Charlemagne is a little bit more than concerned. He just flat out doesn't like the guy. And honestly, I don't think Charlemagne is being prejudiced towards him because of his color, though I might say he's a little harsh with just not liking him without really knowing the guy, and it does probably come from a biased place, but Charlemagne does have a point. Though his dislike for him at the beginning was a little baseless in my opinion, after the New Ones interview back in 2017, Post did say, quote, "If you're looking for lyrics, if you're looking to cry, if you're looking to think about life, don't listen to hip hop," end quote, which fueled Charlemagne's bias. And in all honesty, that wasn't a well thought out thing to say, which Post Malone admitted in a video soon after.
Apparently there's a lot of people saying that I don't appreciate hip hop or that hip hop has never made me feel anything, and I'm referencing this interview that I did in Poland while I was on the European tour, and it was a beer tasting interview, so they put a lot of beer in my face and asked me what kind of beer tastes good to me. So knowing me, I drank it, and apparently I said that whenever you want to feel something, don't listen to hip hop. And it's funny because who the fuck am I to tell you don't listen to this, and whenever you want to feel something, don't listen to this? Or who am I to tell you that you should feel a certain way when listening to something? What I was saying was that when I want to sit down and cry, I listen to Bob Dylan and his guitar. Just like everyone else, no matter how hard you are, no matter where you're from, you're gonna have a time where you sit back and reflect on your life and you listen to what you want to listen to. For me, that's Bob Dylan. A lot of people saying that I don't appreciate hip hop or I'm taking advantage of hip hop. My last hip hop album was fucking hip hop. My next hip hop album is fucking hip hop. I love hip hop. I make hip hop. I want to take this genre, and stretch it so far that people who may not listen to it, listen to it. And, want to listen to the new artists whenever it's going on and just take everything for what it is. But, what I was trying to say is that a lot of people, except for a handful of artists, are saying the same shit. They're not saying anything super meaningful. And I'm 22 years old. I have not had all the life experience in the world to talk about the most meaningful shit. I just sing about what I have gone through, what's going on in my life, and what I want to sing about. Never once did I say that I don't appreciate hip-hop. And, I'm just trying to keep living and make the music that I love. Thank you.
In my opinion, I think that everything was taken out of context, and that's the messed up part about the media. They take the controversial line that you say and blast it onto the titles for clickbait. But if you actually listen to the entire New One's interview, he follows it by referring to the music that is being played today. Not about actual hip-hop, but the hip-hop we hear today. Which I agree with, though this was over 3 years ago, it still does apply today. But was his choice of words the right ones? No, he could have phrased that better, but obviously he was also intoxicated in that situation. He caught himself in the media trap. He completely just went for the bait. In other words, for the people who already hate Post, i.e. Charlemagne, it played into their confirmation bias. If you're looking for crap, you will most likely always find it. The problem with both sides, Charlemagne, which could represent anyone who really hates him because of the said quote-unquote cultural appropriation, and Post Malone, which represents not only him, but I guess the quote-unquote cultural appropriation deniers, is that they're not seeing it from each other's perspective. On one hand, yes, Post Malone isn't really big on black issues, and that is a problem in itself. I think if you're going to indulge in somebody else's culture, you need to be educated on the people of that culture. And in this case, this would be black people since you're using hip-hop culture. I think it's disrespectful to not know the history and kind of treat it like it's whatever to seem cool or to get on, but that's just my personal opinion. But on the other hand, I truly believe that Post Malone is and was just naive about everything. I think people in general forget that hip-hop is mainstream now. The floodgates are open for anyone and everyone. I think he just genuinely likes the music. And hip-hop is something he gravitated to. Hip-hop is pop. We can't expect everyone to be thoroughly educated on it. At this point of his career, I would hope he went back, but as a 22-year-old in 2017, can we really blame him for his ignorance? And I don't think he truly understands what Charlemagne meant by what are you doing for Black Lives Matter.
What are you doing for the Black Lives Matter movement?
What?
I don't know.
Is that a serious question?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
If anything.
I feel like, and that's funny too, actually, that you brought that up, because I have a song called Too Young.
Okay.
And in Dallas, a kid named Christian Taylor got shot and killed. And a week before that happened, he tweeted the lyrics to my song, which was like prophetic.
What was the lyrics?
I don't want to die too young.
Wow.
And that's crazy that he was listening to my song, and he tweeted it, and it happened. It's wild, and I don't know what to.
What that have to do with Black Lives Matter?
Nothing. I'm just.
Also, let me say that there was a lot of hostility when he did ask that question. Post Malone is coming from a place of all lives matter, which is true. All lives do matter, but doesn't really understand that right now it's about Black Lives Matter. Do you guys get what I'm trying to say? In other words, he's coming from a good place, but doesn't really understand the importance of really emphasizing what black people have contributed, because he doesn't look at life that way. I think he really just loves everyone, but may not understand the nuances in this conversation. This is all to go back to the main question. Has he appropriated the culture? No, I personally don't think so. Is he a culture vulture? No, I don't think so. But what I think he did was leverage it. Let me explain. But before we even get into it, please be sure to subscribe. Don't hesitate to comment and engage about anything you like throughout the video. As well, please leave a like. It really does help, and hit the bell notification if you do want to see more. Post Malone leveraged hip-hop. And when I say he leveraged hip-hop, I mean he used it as a stepping stool to create the music that he's now making, which still has fundamental hip-hop elements, but I think is a little bit farther removed. Using something as a stepping stool has negative connotations to it. Some of you might be asking, well, it does sound kind of like something a culture vulture would do, but I personally don't see it that way, for the simple fact that I think he genuinely does love hip-hop. But also, if we're being honest, the easiest entry point into the music industry is through hip-hop. Post Malone does not strike me as a guy with a devious plan wanting to corrupt hip-hop and think because he's white, he's able to use hip-hop as an advantage and make a bunch of money. Again, I think he's just a dude that loves the music. I mean, hip-hop is amazing. A lot of people across all races, genders, and cultures love the sonics behind it. It makes people dance, it makes people move, it makes people feel. It's art. And it also happens to be an art where you don't need to be classically trained to do. Literally anyone with some type of musical sense can make hip-hop music. Whether it is really good or really bad is dependent on the individual and how many hours they dedicate to getting better. I think if Post Malone was vocally trained or just had a natural amazing singing voice, he would have came out off the rip as a blues or rock singer with no hesitation. But how I think we should all look at it is that hip-hop gave Post the confidence to take the leap into diving into those genres outside of hip-hop. He used hip-hop as leverage to now dive into the music that he may have been scared to do before or never had the confidence to do. I don't take it as just him using the genre to blow up, then to make rock music, even though I do understand how it could be perceived that way. But I think people need to think a little bit more critically and really put themselves in Post's shoes. I know that sounds pretty cliche, but it's true. We would be better off in all fields if people functioned that way. Let us also not forget that the music business is the music business. Do you really think the strategic move, and these are just my own thoughts, I'm not insinuating that this was Post Malone's thought process, but do you think the most strategic move for his career was to start off as a blues artist or a pop artist, when there's people that are way more talented than him at singing? No, we would have probably never heard of him. He stuck to what he knew he can get good at, enough to develop a fan base, then do whatever the hell he wanted to do. Because after you build a loyal fan base, they stick with you forever, even if he decided to go completely left field and do techno. So people need to relax and just enjoy music for what it is. And this relates to any white artist. And to my white artist, we need you. To my black artists, we need you. To my brown artists, we need you. To my Asian artists, we need you. To everyone across the board, we need you. Hip-hop is a big enough place to accept anyone that comes through the door. All I say is to please make sure to bring some gifts when you do to show your appreciation. That is all from the night section. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. You guys can follow me on Instagram at night section. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Night section out.